The grounds were quiet, save for the wind threading through the trees and the steady crunch of my boots on frost-bitten grass. Autumn had finally settled in, and with it came a kind of clarity I found tolerable, almost desirable. She followed beside me, silent, wand drawn, posture tight with purpose. No questions, no nervous chatter, just focus. That alone was progress. At the edge of the clearing we stopped. The hedgerows were skeletal now, clawing at the wind. The sun hung low and pale, lavender and gold light stretching thin across the cold earth. I turned to face her. My robes whispered against the ground. "This will be your first session in open conditions," I said. "Your progress in controlled spaces is sufficient. We'll see how you manage the real thing." I wouldn't say she'd improved. I never did. But I had seen it. The way she moved now. The way she listened. Her magic was taking shape, still rough, but forged with intent. I raised my wand, nodded once. "Begin." She hesitated, a flicker, then focus. She pivoted left, defense drawn up, eyes locked on mine. "Protego." The shield caught my silent stunner, flared and fractured. Still she stayed on her feet, footing better than before. I sent another hex, light, deliberate. She blocked it, barely. Her counterspell buzzed with a strange sharpness. I heard it, felt it. The mark had begun to stir, low and slow but present. A thrum beneath the skin, alive. I narrowed my eyes. Again, she blocked, cleanly, slower but controlled. I pressed forward. She held ground. "Expelliarmus!" she shouted. My wand jerked in my grip, nearly. Not enough to disarm, but close. She smiled. Not smug, just proud. She cast again, and again, stronger, but sloppier. The mark pulsed, violent now, visible even through her coat. Her legs wavered, her stance faltered. "Stop," I said, voice cutting, but she didn't hear me. Or wouldn't. Her knees buckled. She hit the ground hard, catching herself with one arm. Her wand spun off into the grass. I reached her in seconds, dropped into a crouch and took her wrist before she could try to rise. "Idiot," I muttered. "I told you to stop." She grew pale. Her breath became shallow. Her lashes fluttered. The mark pulsed under her collar, sluggish, drained, or worse, sated. "You overextended." Again I kept my voice cold, though something thin and sharp ran beneath it. "This obsession with proving yourself will kill you." No response, just a twitch in my hand. Her hand. I pressed my thumb to her pulse. It was faint, but fast. Too fast. She looked up, dazed, smiling. She whispered, "Did I disarm you?" "Barely," I said aloud. Still her smile deepened. I let her go. She fell back into the ground, unconscious. "Enough," I said. She didn't move. I raised my wand, not to hex, but to lift. She'd never ask for help. I wouldn't offer it. Not outright. The spell floated her beside me. Silent. She wouldn't hear what I didn't say, that I'd never seen magic like hers. That her reckless joy made something old and frozen in me start to crack. But at the same time it was causing her to crack, only her cracks were deeper. They creased the very fabric of her being. I guided her through the castle. Thankfully the corridors were free of any students or other staff. I ignored the portraits and their whispers. Her head lolled slightly. With each turn it stirred a worry in my gut. And I hated it. When we reached our rooms, I unlocked the door with a flick. The fire had gone cold. The air was still. I ended the charm. She dropped gently into the bed, limbs folding like paper, still trembling. I stood for a long moment, arms crossed, breathing steady. She was too pale. I saw the sweat glisten at her temples. Her lashes twitched. She breathed, but every breath trembled, and then I saw it. The mark. Her shirt had slipped just enough. The crescent curled beneath her collarbone, faint but still moving. Not with power. I leaned in, watched it, didn't touch. It had faded, slightly. Edges washed out. I'd thought it was an anchor, a tether, something left behind, something that would mar her skin for years. But it was fading. This made no logical sense. I stood abruptly, moved to the fireplace, braced one hand against the cold stone of the mantel. My mind ran. I'd seen cursed magic before, loud, violent, obvious. This was not that. This was patient, clever. It let her believe she was growing stronger, and all the while it was quietly bleeding her dry, and I'd let it feed. I turned back to the bed. She stirred a moment later, rolled toward the place she'd often find me in her sleep, breath hitching softly as consciousness returned. Her eyes fluttered open, clouded with sleep and something heavier. When they found mine, she smiled, small and warm, as if the pain from earlier had never touched her. She had no idea. I approached her slowly. "You fainted," I said quietly. "Pushed yourself too hard." A flicker of guilt crossed her features. Her lashes dipped. "I wanted to impress you." Of course she had. My indifference had always been her undoing. I sat beside her on the edge of the bed, gaze fixed on the hearth. A long silence stretched between us. The mark no longer glowed, but it lingered, always. "You did impress me," I said finally, voice quieter than usual. "You've come further than I thought possible." She reached for me, her fingers brushing gently against my arm. Her body relaxed as the words settled over her like a balm. Her trust in me, so complete, was both a solace and a suffering. I reached out in return, brushing the back of my knuckles down her cheek, then lower, trailing gently to her neck. I paused just above the place where the mark lay hidden beneath her shirt. She didn't see the flicker of grief in my eyes. I wouldn't let her. Instead, I bent down and pressed a kiss to her temple, slow, deliberate, reverent, and then she reached for me fully, arms winding around my neck, pulling me in. Our mouths met, hungry, desperate, aching. The warmth of her skin against mine ignited something reckless. I wanted her, needed her, with a fervor I didn't understand. Not just her body, but her presence, her laughter, her defiance, the strange, impossible softness she brought into the wreckage of this world. I tumbled down into the mattress, a tangle of limbs entwined with hers and coupled with whispered need. Clothes fell away piece by piece, hands memorizing skin, mouths mapping secrets. I lost myself in her, the taste, the warmth, the impossible intimacy of it all. For a time, there was only this. The steady rhythm of our bodies, the sounds of breath and whispered names, the illusion of safety in each other's arms. Later, she lay beside me, sweat cooling on my skin, chest rising and falling in tandem with hers. She curled into me, soft and content, eyes closed, a smile ghosting across her lips. She looked so alive. Her fingers traced lazy circles across my chest. "I feel safe with you," she murmured sleepily, voice thick with affection. I closed my eyes. "You shouldn't." She nestled closer, draping one leg over my own, her hand pressed against the steady rhythm of my heart. Within moments, she was asleep again, warm and trusting and utterly mine. And I lay still beside her, wide awake, staring at the ceiling as though it held answers I hadn't considered. When I finally looked at her sleeping form, all I could manage was to whisper soft enough that it wouldn't disturb her, "I love you."